Hey guys, Danny here. I have a very interesting product to share with you today. This is the Xiaomi Mi 9T, and I think it may just be one of the best value smartphones you get your hands on right now. I'll be breaking down in this video all the elements inside this product and what I think of it, so stay tuned for that. I'll also be giving you a quick look at what's in the box. But this is a really cool product that was sent to me from Banggood as part of their summer sale. If you want to pick it up or check it out, I'll put a link down in the description for you, so be sure to check that out, and I'll put any coupon codes down there for you. For those of you who don't know, this is the global version of the Redmi K20, so this is just a rebranded version with the same specs. Now we're going to unbox this and see exactly what we get. I went for the blue version of this phone, which is a very interesting color. It actually looks a lot better in person. I was worried it was going to look a bit tacky and over the top, but it's actually quite a subtle shimmer on the back. It's really nice, so it does look a lot better in person, I promise you. Now, by no means is this phone cheap, but I think it offers really good value for money when you consider its specs and how well it performs overall. My first impressions of unboxing and handling the phone was it felt really high quality. It was light considering it has a 4000 mAh battery inside. I think this is a nice medium. If you go much more than that, it can make the product feel quite heavy, which I've experienced before. And it does have a decent number of accessories on the outside. You have got your USB-C, you have a single firing speaker which can be blocked easily. I'll be covering that later. But you do also get a headphone jack on the top, which I know most of you will love, and as well as your front-facing pop-up camera, which you'll see on the right there. You also have a nice red shiny power button, not totally a fan of that, and also a volume rocker. This phone is also capable of 18-watt fast charging, which you get included in the box, so you'll get about a 45% charge in 30 minutes, and the phone should fully charge in about an hour and a half. When you consider that is a 4000 mAh battery that's being charged, that is a pretty respectable speed. Now the K20 Pro, the upgraded version of this phone, is capable of 27-watt fast charging, but it doesn't really add a huge difference in time. It's only in the lower end that it charges faster. So first let's talk about the thing you'll be looking at the most, and of course that is the screen. This is a 6.3-inch AMOLED display with a pretty impressive pixel per inch density of 403, which is respectable, I think, for this phone's price point. Now you get really nice colors with this screen and a really nice feel when you're viewing media such as videos and games, because there is no restrictions on the sides of the screen in terms of any front-facing sensors or cameras. The phone just feels amazing in your hand when you're playing games or, as I said, watching videos because of this really nice full screen experience. It feels really immersive, and after experiencing this, I don't think I could go back to using older design phones that have sensors and more stuff on the screen in general. This method of doing things just feels really nice. The screen also supports HDR and is using Gorilla Glass 5. While we're talking about the display, it's probably worth talking about the fingerprint sensor, since it is a under display fingerprint sensor which uses a method of shining a light on your finger and then reading it that way. It's not using ultrasonics like some of the higher end devices are using, but this still worked really well during my testing and it was pretty snappy and responsive. It wasn't as fast as some of the fingerprint sensors I've used in the past, but it didn't really cause me any problems and didn't annoy me at all. It was fast enough that for day-to-day use it served me fine. This device is packing some pretty decent specs. It is running Android 9 Pie with the MIUI 10 interface, which is pretty good overall, but I did change to a different launcher because it doesn't have an app drawer, which I've had on pretty much every Android phone I've used. I wanted to keep it as stock as possible, but I had to change that because it was driving me a little bit mad. But it's really easy to change the launcher on your phone, so don't worry about that. That won't be a problem if you do want to change it. It is also using a Snapdragon 730 chipset, a octa-core CPU, and an Adreno 618 GPU, 6GB of RAM, and this version has 64GB of internal storage, so playing games on high settings isn't a problem. PUBG on the high setting it would allow me to use worked absolutely fine and felt really smooth, and just overall media playback, flicking through the menus, all felt very good and snappy. I didn't have any stuttering or any lag, so the performance felt really solid and snappy overall. The single firing speaker, I would say, was about what you would expect for most devices, maybe a little bit above average. It did have a pretty good volume. However, I did feel like sometimes when watching certain YouTube videos, it just didn't seem to go quite loud enough, but with gaming and music, it felt pretty good overall. But the downside to having a single speaker is, of course, you don't have the clarity, but you also can block it pretty easily. Link down in the description. Be sure to check that out because I always try and find coupon codes for you, and it does also help support my channel if you use those links. It is the Umidigi S3 Pro, and it has some really interesting specs, one of them being a huge battery, which I will be telling you more about shortly. I was easily able to get a full day's of usage out of this phone. I was getting on average a 6 to 7 hour screen on time. I think you could probably get 2 days out of this phone if you gave it pretty light use. With heavy usage, if you was gaming all day, I think you could run through the battery, but for most of you, if you're using this moderately, you should get a full day of use pretty easily. Now, of course, what most of you have probably been waiting for, the camera setup on this device, and I can tell you it is pretty solid. There is a triple camera setup on the back using a main 48 megapixel sensor, also a 8 megapixel telephoto lens, and a ultra wide 13 megapixel sensor. Also, on the front there is a very impressive motorized pop-up 20 megapixel camera which is capable of HDR and filming full HD at 30 frames a second. Of course, these motorized cameras are fairly new to smartphones, so we need to see how long they actually last. Having any moving parts in a device obviously adds more points of failure, but so far they seem to be handling things pretty well. There is also a safety feature in place, so if you drop the phone, it will automatically retract. It doesn't do it very quickly, but it may just save you. I was really happy with the front-facing camera. I felt like I was able to get some pretty solid selfies, if I don't say so myself. I didn't tinker with the settings too much. I did use the portrait mode, which produced quite a good effect. Gcam gives you even better quality, but I will save that for another video. But let's take a look at the video. Hey guys, Danny here. I'm now doing a test on the front-facing camera. It does look a little bit strange, especially if you're holding the phone to the side, because you have this little notch sticking out. But hopefully the video quality is pretty good on the front. It looks very good on the viewfinder, but we'll take a look at this afterwards in video editing. Really surprised by the quality of that piece of footage. Let's look at some video from the main camera. So that wasn't me showing off at all. That was totally in the name of science, just for, testing the camera system on this phone, of course. And what's also interesting is this phone is very capable of some cool slow-mo footage, as you're seeing here. After this, I'm going to play a little montage of some of the footage and pictures I got for this phone, just so you can get a general idea and make up your own mind of what you think. Overall, I really like the camera on this device and can't recommend it enough.
If you want me to get close to you, just tell me what to do, tell me what to do. If you want me to take over, just give me the green light, just give me the green light. If you want me to get close to you, just tell me what to do, tell me what to do. If you want me to take over, just give me the green light, just give me a sign, just give me the green light. If you want me to get close to you, just tell me what to do, tell me what to do. If you want me to take over, just give me the green light, just give me a sign. If you want me to get close to you, just tell me what to do.
So you may have noticed all of those pictures weren't perfect. That's because I included pretty much all of the pictures that I took, and they were all pretty much point and shoot. I wanted to give you a realistic idea of what the main camera is capable of on this phone, so I didn't want to set anything up or tinker with anything too much. Those photos were simply point and shoot. The same thing with this video in the background. These are just some random videos I took, and hopefully they should give you a basic idea of what the camera system on this phone is capable of, and overall I think it is great. So you may have noticed by now I really like this phone, and I definitely do. I think this phone is going to be very appealing to a lot of people which don't really want to pay the full price for some of the flagships that are currently out there. This phone isn't perfect by any means. It could use some improvements, especially in the software and some other areas. So I'm not saying this phone is going to be for all of you, but I definitely think it's a great option for some of you out there that are on a little bit more of a budget. As always guys, if you'd like to pick up this product, you can find a link down in the description. This also helps support my channel. I really hope you enjoyed the video guys. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing for more videos like this one, and of course I will see you in the next one.